We had to figure that out. Nobody stopped us from doing that. Nobody, no program. We just said, look, it's addictive. That crystal meth came out. Remember when that came out? It was just like, it's such an epidemic. Oh, all the talk shows, everything. Oh, what we gonna do? We need to do something about this. And they blowing up their houses, cooking. Man, if we was in the hood blowing up houses, cooking, man, they would have been like martial law. They'd have locked up the whole project if we were to cook it up to blow up a project, blow up a building, try to cook up some crystal meth. And I said, that was judgment. But what they allowed to happen, the war on drugs was a war on black folk. That's why they started building prisons. The prison industrial complex was based upon filling the prison. And they had to get easy cases on you. And that's why they brought the crack in. Go study Freeway Rick Ross. I told y'all find out. Darren Webb is the one that broke the story of the CIA peddling drugs in the inner cities for guns in the Contra scandal. You can look that stuff up for yourself. I don't have time to I don't think I'm going to have to close. I ain't have time. Say information. All right, so this right here is when you see what's going on down there in Ferguson and you see the rioting, just look at this right here. This is where it's coming from. It's right here. It's showing you right here that they already this was going on back in the 60s and 70s. So this is not, so them rioting is not a new phenomenon. It's just what happens when you don't progress of people, and the people can't get jobs, can't get on their feet, and stuff like that. Now, I ain't blaming it all on that, because I know, but we do have to say, if we pay into a system, we pay into a system called income tax. The same breaks others are getting, we should get them too. The same job that they create for others, we should get them jobs. Y'all there? All right, let me go on. Cointelpro, real quick. I'm going to get y'all on this real quick. Cointelpro is actually the counterintelligence program of the FBI. It was started by J. Edgar Hoover in 1956. Since this program was created, its tactics have been used by the FBI, the CIA, the federal and local and state authorities in order to stop movements within the U.S. that the government determined to be dangerous or undesirable. Get this. This was the dirtiest thing they ever did right here. Outside of slavery, this was the most dirtiest. J. Edgar Hoover directs, this is direct quotes. The purpose of this new counterintelligence endeavor is to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of black nationalist hate-type organizations. They say the Black Panthers had a breakfast program feeding children in the community, and they called it hate because they was standing up against the police who was brutalizing their community. They're like, we're going to police our own. They had their own guns. They was policing. They was caring for it was black men caring for their children and women. And that was hate to them because that scared them. They knew this is the only way a black nation can rise if the men stand up. And these brothers was trying to stand up, and so they called them a hate group the same way they put terrorism on you now. If you against the government now, they call you a terrorist. This is the word. It's a way to get that name on you so they can treat you with a hard hand. Y'all there? A hate-type organization that groupings their leadership, spokesmen, membership, and supporters. Efforts of various groups to consolidate their forces or to recruit newer youthful adherents must be frustrated. They said, we're going to keep them from recruiting black men. We're going to frustrate them. No opportunity should be missed. No opportunity should be missed to exploit through counterintelligence techniques. I mean, this is like psychological warfare on the black community. The organizational and personal conflicts of leadership, that means they're going to start making leaders fight each other. That's why we can't get along. We're going to turn leaders against each other. That's what they did to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So sworn leaders of the groups, and where possible, an effort should be made to capitalize upon existing conflicts between competing black national organizations. So they said, we're going to turn them into fighting one another. That's where they got those informants they put in those black groups and start snitching and sabotaging each other. When an opportunity is apparent to disrupt or neutralize is to kill. Neutralize black nationalist hate-type organizations through the cooperation of established local. Now here we're going to use the local news media contacts through which such contacts with sources available of the seat of government. In every instance, careful attention must be given to the proposal to ensure the targeted group is disrupted, ridiculed, discredited through publicity and not merely publicized. This is what they say we're going to use the media for. That's why I tell you, anytime the media is against something, it's probably good. media, whenever the media come out against something, it's good. When they took Bill Cosby down, I said he must have been something. He done went against them elite people. He done went against somebody, and that's how they do you. They just destroy you, take you all the way down. He done said something to the wrong person. They said, we're going to take you down. That's how they do you. Y'all remember Mel Gibson? Mel Gibson did it. When Mel Gibson said something about the Jews, where is he at? Tom Cruise did it. Tom Cruise said something he shouldn't have said. They destroy you. They destroy your career. That's what they do. They use the media machine. And this is what they did with the media. The goal was to get the news to start discrediting you. Discredit you. Y'all got what I'm saying? Goals from FBI memo dated 3/4/68 obtained by the Freedom of Information Act for maximum effectiveness of counterintelligence and to prevent wasted effort. Long-range goals are being set. 1. Prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups. In unity, there is strength. They said it. They said it. That's why they keep us divided. They said it. That's why when you see them down there in Ferguson, you ought to shut your mouth. You see some unity. You see unity. That's the first time we all heard at the same time. Let's see. I can't see it. A truism that is no less valid for all its triteness. An effective coalition of black nationalist groups might be the first step toward a real black revolutionary army in America, the beginning of true black revolution. What's they fear? What did Pharaoh say? We got to deal with it because, unless they multiply, fight against us. This is the same spirit. The same spirit is right here. Now, if we was just low people, why y'all doing all this? Why we need to do it? Now, you don't know this is why your sons walk around with their pants sagging and weed smoke on their hands and their lips are black because they strategize this. And when your young men would have been militant wanting to get involved in something, they killed the movements. They killed the movement that gave them hip-hop. Not hip-hop, gangster hip-hop. Number 2, to prevent the rise. Number 2, the second goal, to prevent the rise of a Messiah. That hurts to know that this is what y'all trying to do. Stop somebody who can bring us together, who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a Messiah. He is a martyr of the movement today. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, Elijah Muhammad, all aspire to the position. Elijah Muhammad is less a threat because of his age. Now, you notice, you talking about they got Muslim, Christian, it didn't matter who you was. If you get black and you can bring people together, you on the list. That's why you ain't seeing no priests on the list. Because they weren't scared of the priests. They know priests ain't preaching nothing in these churches. They know we ain't scared of y'all. Y'all ain't gonna bring nobody, stir nobody up to do nothing. But come to church and pay their tithes, go home. You ain't gonna make nobody do nothing. Look at this. But Elijah Muhammad is less a threat because of his age. King could be a very real contender for his position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrine. That was his problem. He was following white liberal doctrine. That's what Martin Luther King was doing. He was following white liberal doctrines. The nonviolence was not godly. It was a liberal doctrine. It was a Gandhi Hindu. It was a Hindu Buddhist approach to life and embraced black nationalism. Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat. That's why that guy went over to Africa. He the only one lived, one of the only ones that lived. These people ain't playing, man. Let me get done. Goals from an FBI memo dated 3/4/68 obtained by the Freedom of Information Act. Did I read it? I didn't read that. Yeah, I did. Now, some on the bottom I didn't read. Let's see. Carmichael, number 3 was prevent violence on part of black nationalist groups. This is of the primary importance and is, of course, a goal of our investigative activity. It should also be a goal of counterintelligence programs to pinpoint potential troublemakers and neutralize them before they exercise their potential for violence. So this is like pre-crime. They judging you before you did something. To keep us from ever coming up when they saw somebody who could bring us together. That's why these cats, they got also, that's why they know they with them. That's why they can go out there and keep on being in the limelight, because they know we bought them. Prevent, I think it's number 4, prevent entirely different tactics from the first two. Publicity about violent tendencies and radical statements merely enhances black nationalists. To the last group, it adds respectability in a different way. In other words, it was saying some people are okay with the violent thing, so they wanted to discredit them for that. Number 5, a final goal should be to prevent long-range growth of militant black organizations, especially among the youth. Specific tactics to prevent these groups from converting young people must be developed. So all of our life, somebody's been maneuvering us, keeping us away from getting charged with this freedom mentality, keeping us away from getting charged. They kill leaders. That's what they do. Keeping us away from. That might have been what happened to my father. That might have been his problem. Radical, trying to be radical, but they're killing the movements, and you ain't got nowhere to be radical at, so you take it out on yourself. You radicalize you're just too radical to your own body. That's what happened. So you got to channel that. You got to channel all that aggression and passion into something. I mean, and when they killing our leaders, that's why we went off when they killed Malcolm X. We had no way to channel our passions. Like, this guy is helping us channel it in the right way. But y'all gonna kill the leader? Oh man, burn it down. And that's why they are worried, because they know that anybody that can bring us together, they know the African stuff in us, man. They know what we're going to do. Look, in 1969, the FBI special agent in San Francisco wrote Hoover that his investigation of Black Panther Party revealed that in his city, at least of the black nationalists were primarily feeding black breakfast to children. Hoover filed back a memo implied the career ambitions of the agent were directly related to supplying evidence to support Hoover's view that the Black Panthers were a violence-prone organization seeking to overthrow the government. And they trying to feed the kids. Black Panthers had a good feeding program. I studied it. They got a good feeding program. They feeded a lot of kids every day. And they knew that through feeding the children and letting the children be, and it was black men, feeding the children, letting the children interact with black men, they were getting that identity in the child, because most of the children, of course, didn't have fathers. Only a limited number of methods of covert action exist. A study of Cointelpro revealed 4 basic approaches. First, there was infiltration. This had to know how they deal with you. Agents and informers did not merely spy on political activists. The main purpose was to discredit and disrupt them. That's why every time we hear something bad about a black person, you got to know this was ingrained in us to always be down on each other, to tell on each other. Their presence served to undermine trust and discourage our potential supporters. They also exploited this spirit to smear genuine activists and agents. Can y'all handle a little more? Should I close here? Second, there was psychological warfare from outside. They planted false media stories and published bogus leaflets and other publications in the name of targeted groups. They forged correspondence, sent anonymous letters, and made anonymous telephone calls. They spread misinformation about meetings and events, set up pseudo-movement groups run by agents, and manipulated the strong-armed parents, employers and landlords, school officials, and others to cause trouble for the activists. That means they totally try to sabotage their life. Third, there was harassment through the legal system, which is what they use now, used to harass dissidents and make them appear to be criminals. That's what they do, make you appear to be a criminal. Officers gave perjured testimony and presented fabricated evidence as a pretext for false arrest and wrongful imprisonment. They discriminatorily enforced tax laws and other government regulations. They use it on Ali. Other government, they use it now. They use that tax law on that's when they want you, where they use the tax law on you. And other government regulations, they use conspicuous surveillance, investigative interviews, and grand jury subpoenas in an effort to intimidate activists and silence their supporters. Fourth, and finally, there was extra-legal force and violence. The FBI and police threatened, instigated, and conducted break-ins, vandalism, assault, and beatings. The object was to frighten dissidents and disrupt their movements. In the case of radical black and Puerto Rican activists, and later Native American. These attacks included political assassinations, were so extensive, vicious, and calculated that they can only be accurately called a form of official terrorism. That's their terrorism. They terrorize these people. They trying to build themselves together, and they use terrorism to destroy them. That's what they did. Last but not